Good afternoon. This meeting of the Mount San Jacinto Community College District is called to order. It is 4:03. My 4:02. Let's not handicap ourselves more than we need to. We're going to move to our Pledge of Allegiance, item 1.2. If you guys, if everyone could please stand, and if Dr. Schultz, can you lead us in the pledge?
Sure.
Thanks.
Please joining me in saluting our great flag. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item 1.3, roll call, establishment of quorum.
Trustee Ashley,
Present.
Trustee Carpenter,
Present.
Trustee Corona,
Present.
Trustee Smith,
Present.
Trustee Silva,
Here.
Student Trustee Waluka,
Present.
Academic Senate Anjanette Oberg, Classified Senate Ed Saucedo, Student Government Association Alina Baca.
Thank you. Item 1.4, approval of minutes, the regular meeting of October 9th, 2025. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second? Is there any discussion? Student trustee, please vote.
Aye.
Trustees, please vote.
Aye.
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 Item 1.5, approval of minutes of the special meeting of October 14th, 2025. Do we have a motion to approve?
Chair Ashley, I move to approve.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Student trustee, please vote.
I abstain. I was not present.
Thank you. Trustees, please vote. Aye.
Aye.
Item 1.6, approval of minutes, special meeting of November 5th. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion on this item? Hearing none. Student trustee, please vote.
I abstain.
Thank you. Trustees, please vote.
Aye.
Aye. Item 1.7, revision, adoption, and ordering of the agenda. It is recommended the Board of Trustees approve the order of the agenda with, I have 2 modifications. So do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, discussion. With discussion, we do have a motion to, we do have a request to move items 15.1 and 12.1 immediately following item 4.1. With that one adjustment, do I have is there any other discussion? Hearing none, student trustee, please vote.
Aye.
Trustees, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Item 2, comments of individual groups, delegations limited to closed session items. Do we have any closed session comments? With none, hearing none, we will now adjourn to closed session. So pursuant to all applicable education codes, government codes, and recently enacted statutes, the Board of Trustees will meet in closed session to discuss the following matters. 3.2, conference with labor negotiator, California School Employees Association. Item 3.3, conference with labor negotiator, California Teachers Association. Item 3.4, conference with labor negotiator, Communication Workers of America. Item 3.5, conference with real property negotiator, regarding quite a long list of assessor parcel numbers. Item 3.6, conference with legal counsel, potential litigation, existing litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9D1, Superior Court of California, case number 25CV015406. When that's over, we will reconvene and report out. So with that, we will move to closed session. See you hopefully in a short amount of time. Okay, we're back, everyone, from closed session, and thankfully we have nothing that we need to report out from closed session. So we are going to go directly on to item 4.1, public comment. This section of public comment is for items on the agenda. Do we have? Well, I'm just told that we have no one that's put in a slip for public comment. So with that, we can move straight on to reports. Oh, I'm sorry. I can't believe I made that mistake after just doing this. We have made an adjustment before we went to closed session. We're moving now to just 2 items before reports. We're going to begin with item 15.1, which is MGI advocacy report, followed by 12.1 measure AA bond audit report. So let's scroll down, please, to 15.1. Wow, that's a long ways down. This is a busy meeting. All right, and we have our Sacramento update, MGI advocacy. And Mark McDonald, the floor is yours. Thank you for being here.
Thank
I'm sure you have a
you.
lot to report with everything that's going on.
Definitely. It's great to be here again. Love this building, love this campus. As I was walking in, I saw all the posters for CSU and apply to UC, and it's great to see the students on the campus as well. So I'm going to do a brief high-level overview, and if you have questions, please feel free to stop me. But where we are on the state budget process is we're through the state budget. This governor will release his new proposed budget for 2026 on January 10th of 2026. And then we'll go through that budget process then. On the legislative side, I'm not going to go through each date, but I want to let you know that we are in the second year of the 2-year session. Just like Congress, the state goes in 2-year sessions. And that means that every bill, essentially almost every bill with a few exceptions that didn't make it to the governor's desk, is now a 2-year bill. And when the legislature comes back in January 4th, I believe, January 5th, those bills can move again. So what I'm going to get into a little bit is the Board of Governors request, and let you know what every year they send a request to the Department of Finance and the legislature on what they would like to see. And that comes with input from the various interest and stakeholders. So the law actually requires them to do this every year. And in July, the Chancellor's Office begins the process by asking constituency groups, and that can be the league, the faculty organizations, the classified organizations, ACPO, all the various ABC organizations, to submit proposals. In the end, they requested actually over $1 billion in requests. Now, will they get all of that? No. The request can really be characterized in 5 different areas. Number 1, core funding. Number 2, categorical support. 3, ancillary supports. 4, once again, like last year, they're asking for technology money. And then 5, legislative priorities. So core funding, and this is important to this district, is to change the funding formula so that it incorporates the higher of the 3-year average or 1 year. So if you're growing significantly, you will have less unfunded growth. They also ask for 1% growth funding, a COLA for apportionments, and then $60 million in ongoing funding for deferred maintenance. I'm going to get into these in a little bit. I'm not going to go over all of these categorical programs. If you have a specific question I'm happy to try to answer, but 60 million to backfill the strong workforce program. I want to lift this one up because there was a bill this year, AB 323, that allows districts to use the funding for work-based learning programs where students can be interns and you can partner with industry to provide those opportunities to students. The problem is that the money the last couple of years when budgets have been down has essentially been raided by the state. The other one is the 62 million for the Student Equity and Achievement Program that hasn't gotten a COLA in 3 or 4 years. And then I'm just the big ones, 60 million for the California Apprenticeship Initiative, and then 41 million for EWD is the Economic Workforce Development Program. Ancillary supports, some of these are going to the central office, but would be filtered down to local districts, including the credit for prior learning. And then 1.1 billion more for affordable student housing. And the idea being that this is an alternative to that AB 90, the parking lot bill that we've seen the last few years. Technology supports, again, these all go to the central main office, to the chancellor's office, except for the top two. And I want to kind of lift these up. 25 million for professional development for faculty focused on the Vision 2030, Chancellor Christian's Vision 2030 goals. And then 10 million for AI professional development and literacy tools. That 10 million isn't just for faculty, it's also for administration to get steeped in AI technology. I'm going to go through a quick legislative update. These are mainly bills that were of high prominence this legislative session. District wins, AB 42. This was actually a Chancellor's Office sponsored bill that allows students to not count their CalFresh and CalWorks benefits in their financial aid applications, so they have greater access to financial aid. I mentioned AB 90 was held in committee. This is the bill that would have potentially allowed students to park in their parking lots on your campus. And then I mentioned AB 323 is that strong workforce bill that allows you to provide students with work-based learning opportunities. Some losses. So AB 1400 is the community college baccalaureate degree was once again vetoed. This was a bill that was run last year, run again this year. There's conversations as to whether we should bring it back next year or not. It's already been vetoed by this governor twice. Doesn't make sense to wait for the next governor to come along. And then AB 695 would have allowed students who got deported to continue to have their education continuity by paying resident tuition for wherever they were deported to and continue to pay resident fees. That was also vetoed by the governor. Just some bills that were signed that you're going to have to implement. SB 98 is an urgency measure. All the rest of these bills won't take place until January 1. This one's already in place, requires you to notify your campus community if immigration enforcement comes on campus. SB 744, accreditation of colleges. This is a provisional bill that was put in place in case something happens at the national level to the accrediting bodies to ensure that WASC and ACCJC remain in oversight over California community colleges and California institutions of higher education. SB 640 tangentially impacts community colleges. This is direct admission program to CSU. It got a lot of press. I will note that it doesn't include the 6 does not include the 6 most impacted CSUs are not participating in this program. So that's San Diego, the 2 Cal Poly Pomona and San Luis Obispo, San Jose, Long Beach State, and Fullerton, I believe. AB 648, SBIR, allows for easing on zoning restrictions if you want to build student or faculty or staff housing. And AB 1098, for those of you that have been around and remember the Post-Secondary Education Commission, this is a remake of that. I want to give you a quick budget preview for 2026. So far, the news is good. Revenues have been ahead of schedule. And so far for the fiscal year, they're about 6.5 billion above the Budget Act forecasts. Sounds great, but I want you to remember, if you kind of parse that out, 40% is Prop 98, 11% of that is community colleges. It's about 350 million. Remember that community colleges are also facing a $400 million deferral right now, statewide. So we're generally just backfilling for that. Also, it's a tale of 2 budgets. Prop 98 is growing, but if you look at the non-98 side, so this is CSU, UC, the Student Aid Commission, which is Cal Grants for your students, there's structural deficits for the foreseeable future. So when you hear in the news, California is running a deficit, that's what they're talking about. At the same time, we're lucky to be in community colleges because we're going to see likely some growth in revenues in the coming year. 2 major issues that we're going to be facing in the coming year, the overarching issues, are number 1, funding all students that the district is serving. This district is obviously growing. You're seeing a lot of students coming to your campuses. We want to make sure that you're not carrying any unfunded growth. And then addressing the potential loss of federal funds. So this could be TRIO grants, MSI grants, HSI grants. How do we address that? What are some ways? There are discussions around the 50% law allowing for backfill for loss of grant funding to be excluded from the 50% law, or additional funding in the student support block grant that was recently enacted. And then I just want to give a quick preview of what we will likely see in 2026 on the legislative side. Student facilities, student housing. I'm going to join the first bullet and the second bullet. These 2 programs require you right now to participate in the federal student loan program in order to get the Prop 90 or the AB 19 money or the Prop 2 student facilities money. That is likely going to go away. You will no longer have to participate in that program in order to pull down that money. Then there's going to be a lot of conversations on the baccalaureate degree expansion and where we go from there. 50% law conversations are occurring. This has been an issue for years and years and years. I don't know if it's going to get resolved. There's going to be a conversation around expansion for dual enrollment, and then conversations on nursing clinical placements. How can we increase the number of clinical placements that we have? And then the Cal Grant framework very likely won't be funded again, but there could be a push to increase Cal Grant C, which is money that goes to CTE programs, to align with short-term Pell that was just passed at the federal level. Quick preview of politics for 2026. Prop 50 just passed, so that'll have some changes, not in the next year, but in 2027. But on the Assembly side, the Speaker remains the same, so all those committees will remain the same. There's a potential shakeup on the Senate side with a new pro tem. And we're hearing there will probably be a new budget chair, a new appropriations chair, and potentially a new Senate education chair as well. On the passage of Prop 50, what that does basically is create 5 more Democratic congressional seats. How that impacts the state is that state lawmakers who are Democrats that may not have wanted to run for Congress because they didn't see a path for themselves to win could potentially see a path to win in one of those new 5 seats. So that means we'd be losing state legislators that would then be filled by new members. So we could be seeing 5 or 6 new members in 2027. And as I've said for the last 5 years I've been down here, Democrats will continue to dominate the legislature. They will continue to have 2/3 supermajority and really not need to go to the other side of the aisle to get things done. But there are a number of Republicans that are willing to work across the aisle and get things done. And what's going to end up happening, as always, is on those controversial bills, it's going to land in the middle. It's going to be with what is called the Problem Solvers Caucus, which is a group of Democrats and Republicans that have kind of formed together to try to find ways to solve problems that are controversial for California. So with that, I know it was fast, a lot of information, but happy to take any questions that you might have or comments.
As it relates to the 50% law, I know that you had mentioned on slide 7 that that technology support was a key component as we move forward, especially financially supporting that. There was talks as it relates to the 50% law of right-sizing the IT departments and stuff like that to combat some of these issues related to bots. Would that be a point of discussion as a part of maybe augmenting the 50% law to include those staff members?
Right, that's a great question. In fact, I was just on a call this morning talking about that, and the conversation hit a stone wall on, so I think there's general agreement that counselors, librarians, and some technology, not just technology items, but also technology staff should maybe be included on the right side of the 50% law. But where the rubber meets the road is the faculty groups in exchange for that would want to see the 50% increase to something higher than 50%. So I think where we ended up is you would have to have some sort of analysis of what makes sense, because ideally, if you were to move those over, the idea would be to give you some flexibility to hire more of those, right? So what percentage makes sense, if any? Just to be quite frank, the faculty groups are not going to agree to that without some sort of increase from 50% to something else. And what that ultimate number is, that would take, I think, a CBO and folks to figure out. But those are conversations that are happening, yeah.
And then I had one more thing related to student housing and facilities. Does it seem to you that there is to me, it seems like there's a snowballing effect, because I'm seeing just had a visit with a board member at Long Beach City College, and they're in the process of building their student housing right now. I've got a friend of mine who works with is a board member with Compton Community College. They're also building theirs. I'm concerned. The only concern that I have from a legislative standpoint is that either the state assembly or state senate is going to cram down another one of their unfunded mandates that they like to put on people, and that will be left holding the bag. Is there any kind of I don't know, any members of the state legislature that seem to want to hold off on that until there's an actual financial mechanism to make it work for our community college system?
Are you talking specifically about the parking or the actual construction of new facilities?
Oh,
or
the
kind of both?
construction, yeah, the construction of housing facilities, yeah.
Right. So when that program first started, it was a grant program because there was a surplus in the state and they were actually giving the cash to districts. And then the next year there was a budget crisis, hence California, right? And so they had to restructure the program into a loan program where the state was basically taking out the loan and then giving the money to the district. And the district had to sign the deed to the state. And so there were a lot more complications, like public-private partnerships became more difficult to do. Building up cash through, financing, outside financing became more difficult to do. So there were a couple districts, you named some that decided to go forward to make it work. There are districts out there that have decided not to move forward and given the money back, so to speak. There are districts that have decided to put housing in their bond, their local bond, and move forward that way. There are some that have decided to do a combination of both. There is a student housing department in the Department of Finance. There's a student housing department in the Chancellor's office. This request for 1.1 billion in additional funding to go through provide more housing for community colleges. I would say at this point is a little bit less than 50%. I would say that there is going to be some money on the table from the first round because there are going to be more districts that choose not to do it. And so that'll be funding that is left on the table for other districts if they want to go forward on it. And it's my understanding that the Chancellor's office is going to ask for another round of proposals from local districts to score them for that if there is additional money on the table. But I think the additional 1.1 billion, I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but I think it's below 50% at this point. But I could be proven wrong. I have been before. So.
Thank you very much.
Mark, I have a question. I feel like our community college has done everything right. We took advantage of matching funds. We built beautiful new buildings. We opened this campus. We did everything right to grow, and it worked. We've grown by thousands of students now, but we're not being funded for all this growth. You had one bullet up there, but it should have been the brightest and biggest bullet from my standpoint. We need to be fully funded for not just for who we have, but we should be able to chase growth and start new partnerships out there and just expand like crazy. And we were able to do that for about, 9 of my 13 years on this board. We were always trying to figure out how we can grow and grow, chase FTES, but in a good way, not in a slippery way that some districts will do. And do you what can you do for us on this regard? No. We need, you're not just you don't just give us updates, you also fight for us. And what can you do and what's being done?
So I want to say one thing and compliment your president that he was one of the folks that signed on to a letter and advocated for, there was $100 million in last year's budget that went towards unfunded growth. Now that's statewide. It didn't fund all of it, but it was one-time money that came down. And then I was actually just working on a letter with him this morning to go to Department of Finance to talk about doing three things. Number one, changing the funding formula so that it's the higher of your current year or your 3-year average, not just your 3-year average, which when you leave it as a 3-year average, inherently gives you unfunded FTES. To fund unfunded growth in the current year and then increase the growth allocation. The Chancellor's office only asked for 1% growth, which isn't going to be enough, to increase the growth allocation to at least 3%. And that is going to be the top priority for the budget season, is to ensure that all the students that we're serving are being funded. Otherwise, you're pulling money from your reserves so that you can create access.
And we took thousands of students off the roads, and the roads aren't as congested going south on the freeway now or heading into the Inland Empire because they're going here now. And like I mean, I know that's unrelated to
Right, no.
getting growth funding, but it's actually improved our communities also. Like we're doing, so I just want to remind you, I know you don't forget about us. I know you're working with Roger, but just know that it's on this Board of Trustees' mind then.
No,
Please continue.
I appreciate that. Yeah. And, you know, I want to thank your president for all his support and advocacy over the years. If this is the last meeting I'm out with you here,
Don't be so sure.
okay. All right. All right.
I have no more questions. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
And we are now moving on to item from our open agenda 12.1, our 24-25 Measure AA Bond Independent Audit. And we have Ed Bailey, or Ide Bailey? Ide Bailey, yes. Have an audit that they're going to present to us. And the floor is yours, sir.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. My name is Rick Alonzo. I'm a partner with Bailey. We performed the Measure AA financial and performance audit. If you remember right, when districts decided to pass a bond under Prop 39, one of the requirements was that they had to have an additional financial statement and performance audit. So our firm, we finished that up and we issued the report last week. When you look at the report itself, it's really broken out into two areas. You have your financial and your performance audit. So it's two reports into one. The first report is the financial statement report. We basically are tasked with giving an opinion just with the Measure AA financial statements. When you look at the report itself, you'll see it's broken out with the audit opinion as well as the financial statements and the notes to the financial statements. As auditors, the only thing that's really considered ours is the audit opinion and the findings in the back of the report. Everything else is the responsibility of district management. For the financial statements, the district received an unmodified opinion. An unmodified opinion is the cleanest opinion we can give, and it states that the financial statements are fairly stated in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. Now, most districts will receive an unmodified opinion because as auditors, we come in, we look at the financial statements. If we know any errors, we bring that to the attention of management. And if they make those audit adjustments, then you receive an unmodified opinion because the financial statements are fairly stated. Your district received an unmodified opinion without any audit adjustments. So
Nice.
we gave a clean opinion based on the financial statements that the district provided us. One of the other pages I like to go over is the findings. I know that's usually an area where the board likes to start. They go to the findings to see what there are. And that's on page 13. And if you go to that page, you'll notice that that page is blank. It says none reported. Always like to say that, you know, auditors have the perception of being negative people, and there's a good reason why. We're not allowed to give positive assurance. Auditors are only allowed to give negative assurance. So blank page from an auditor is a really good sign. So just to recap the financial statements, the district received an unmodified opinion and there were no findings and recommendations. Moving on to the performance audit. The performance audit is basically a compliance audit. We're going to select a sample of expenditures and make sure that the district is spending the money with what the voters approved for those specific projects. The one page I like to look at is page 17. Basically, our sample included transactions of $2.6 million, which represent 76% of all the expenditures the district had for the fiscal year. They had about $3.4 million in expenditures. So we looked at 76% in our sample, which is a really large sample. And basically, I'll just like to read on page 18. It says, results of our test indicated that in all material respects, the district has properly accounted for the expenditures held in the general obligation bond fund measure AA, and that such expenditures were made for authorized bond projects. So this is also a clean opinion. We didn't note any areas where the district is misspending the money with any projects. And to go over to page 19, that's where we would list all our findings, and you can see you have that blank page as well. So just to recap the performance audit, it was a clean opinion without any findings and recommendations. Lastly, I like to point out, we would need to let the board know if we had any difficulties encountered during the course of the audit, any disagreements with management. I'm happy to say we didn't have any of those issues. The district is always very professional when we come out. They give us our information in a timely manner, which as auditors, we really appreciate. So at this time, I can answer any questions that anyone might have with the bond audit for this year.
I have really one question. It seems like we spent all this money a really long time ago. Why are we still getting audits? And is this the last one for Measure AA?
Actually, that's a good question. The audits have to be done until all the money is spent. And if you look at,
We have $1.59 left somewhere.
yeah, if you look at the financial statements on page 5, the ending balance as of June 30th was $22.6 million. So the district still has $22.6 million to spend.
Be seeing you for a while.
Okay. I guess we still have a few more contractors to pay. Thank you. That's my question. Well, we're getting close then.
Yeah.
From about 300 million down to 22. We're spending it.
I just have a curious question. How long does it take for you to do the audit for?
Well, we're going to do it over a 2-week process.
They have AI do it.
Yeah, that's a big thing in accounting too. I could talk about a lot about that, but basically we do it over a 2-week process. We'll do a couple days in the spring, which kind of we look at the internal controls, making sure that the district has proper segregation of duties within their system. And then the year end, we basically do another couple, 2 to 3 days where we're actually verifying that the financial statements are materially correct. And then we select a sample of expenditures to test to make sure that, you know, the money's being spent appropriately. So probably in all about maybe 80 to 90 hours that we look at the bond project.
Thank you.
Question, so what like score rating would you give Michael Beckham and his team between a scale of 1 to 10?
You know, we always get that question. And, you know, my best answer is, you know, we're not allowed to give positive assurance. So you really want to look at if we had any audit adjustments, if we had any findings and recommendations. That's always a good thing to see how the audit went. And in this case, we had no audit adjustments and we had no findings and recommendations. So that's a good sign.
That was a 10.
Yeah. In other words,
Thanks for answering the question about page 13 and 19, because when I read that, I thought, is Michael that perfect? But I guess he was.
was people. No,
Clean audit.
thank you so much. Unless there's other questions.
You guys have a great rest of the meeting. Take care.
Take care. So at this point, we can resume our regular meeting in our regular agendized meeting, which takes us to item 5, reports. And we're going to begin, as always, with 5.1, board president and trustees. So Trustee Smith, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I attended a few community events, but the two I really want to highlight was the city of San Jacinto asked me to do a filming at the new STEM building for their State of the City address. And Andy was kind enough to get that all set up, and we did it. And then actually, we went to their event, and Andy was there and a few of the staff, and we had some great camaraderie. But we actually was played out of that filming, I think 3 or 4 times. So it was a nice little thing that they asked us to do. And it was nice to have the city be proud of that. The other thing I want to talk about, Eastern Municipal Water District had their State of the District, and I was invited as a guest from some firms there. But it was what you would expect for one of those for a 75th. They went all out, and Roger was there and some other people. But as it went on to talk about the growth that had happened over their tenure, which we're almost as old, not quite. And it talked about where they had started, and they had started, more to the north here. And as they grew, they come to the south, and all of the great leadership they had to have that kind of growth, and with the explosion. And I realized as you start watching that and thinking about it, that MSJC had done the same path. And we have to really congratulate Roger, because he was obviously the leader in that. Obviously, it takes a whole community for that to happen. But thank you, Roger, as you're moving on. But also in that conversation, you think about everything it took to get that way and all the explosion that happened. If you think about the San Jacinto campus, as we go forward, we need to really be thinking in the future about making sure that we maintain that properly, because if we have another explosion in growth, it's going to happen on the north end, because we're the one that still has the open space. So that was just something that I also thought about as I was thinking of all the leadership Roger had coming this way. That was leadership that got that done, and the staff. I mean, there was a lot of people to make that happen, but we need to really take care of the San Jacinto campus for the next 20 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Corona, you're up.
All right. On October 20th, I attended the election of members of the Riverside County Committee, and we didn't have enough members to have a quorum. But our COE and San Bernardino County Office of Education, they still hosted a lively event where I had the opportunity to meet with board members and superintendents from elementary, from high school, and college districts throughout our Inland Empire region. On October 22nd to the 25th, I was grateful to participate in the ACCT Leadership Conference in New Orleans. There, I attended several valuable sessions, including conducting an effective CEO search in a competitive market. After the presentation, I spoke with Julie Goder, who's the vice president, and Cindy Lopez, director of the ACCT search team, and shared some of my ideas and concerns. While at the conference, I also connected briefly with our superintendent, Roger Schultz, with our board chair, Tom Ashley, and our ACCT search consultant, Dr. Pam Fisher. On November 5th, we had a special board meeting. At our special meeting, Dr. Pam Fisher reviewed the superintendent's search process and answered questions. I raised inquiries regarding how the chair and vice chair of the search committee are determined and how the committee itself was formed. Dr. Fisher stated that the approach varies by district and that our situation is not uncommon. Typically, the chair and the vice chair of a superintendent search committees are either appointed by the board or board president, or elected by committee members at their first meeting. But this all depending on the district board policy, all depends on the district board policy or on administrative procedure. Upon reviewing our board policy 2431, superintendent president selection, last revised on January 16, 2025, I noted the following language. The board shall establish a search process to fill the vacancy. The board. The process should be fair and open and comply with relevant regulations. However, our policy, when compared to other districts, our policy does not outline a clear or formalized search process structure. The language is broad. It is broad, just like our Constitution, but It leaves room for interpretation and lacks is, I would say it's less broad than the Constitution, leaving room for interpretation and lacks specificity regarding transparency, fairness, and how the search committee, its chair, vice chair, and members is to be selected. At the November 5th meeting, the board chair unilaterally declared himself as the search committee chair, selected the vice chair, and indicated that additional committee members would be chosen without committee discussion or approval. Based on the common practice at the California community colleges, when a policy does not specify a procedure, institutions generally follow an AP 2431 style approach, where the board appoints the chair and the committee selects a co-chair. Even though we probably know where we are headed, due to the lack of clarity in our policy and the significance of this process, I respectfully request that we seek additional support before proceeding further with the establishment of the chair, vice chair, and committee memberships for the superintendent president search. Selecting superintendent president is one of the most important responsibilities of a board of trustees. Ensuring integrity, fairness, transparency, and adherence to the best practices is essential and sets a tone for who we are as an institution. I would like to end in a positive note. I am pleased to see the presidential search page up and running. I also want to express my respect and appreciation to all the veterans and the brave individuals who served in our great nation. Lastly, we have the State of the College tomorrow, and I hope many of you will attend. This concludes my board report. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Silva.
Thank you, Chair Ashley. I was on November 5th. I was at the Banning State of the City, where I had some great conversations with many friends within the city, and discussions seemed to be varied from different angles. And it was interesting to hear some perspectives from city council members that are new and didn't have really kind of like the historical depth on some of the stuff that we had been talking about for many years. So we had shared some discussions and should bear fruit at some point. The following day on the 6th, I had lunch with a trustee colleague from Long Beach City College, and an old friend of mine, Dr. Annette Morton, who was elected to the board in 24 over there. And we were colleagues together working on a couple of projects with the city of Riverside many years ago. This past Monday was the 250th anniversary of the United States Marine Corps, and that's why I'm wearing my wonderful flag raising tie from flag raising ceremony on Iwo Jima from years ago. We'll also, during this time of year, we're honoring our sophomores for all of our athletics programs, as we're celebrating sophomore days across all of our sports, our 12 sports here at Mount San Jacinto College. Also, of course, on Tuesday was Veterans Day, and very thankful for the sacrifice and service that not only our veterans have made, but also their families as well. And then I wanted to wish everybody a happy and healthy Thanksgiving for next couple of weeks. And I know I'll see several of my board colleagues at the CCLC convention in Anaheim next week. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Silva. Trustee Carpenter.
Thank you and good evening. I have just three things to report. I went to or attended the special board meeting for the CEO president search. And as Trustee Hollister Corona said, that it is now up on the website and we are looking for seeking candidates, sadly, Roger. I also attended the State of the City, Menifee State of the City, which was at the stadium. We really had a good turnout. It was a good evening. Thank you, MSJC, for the partnership that you have with the city and the chamber. And I also yesterday attended MSJC's Real Estate Advisory Group that meets, I think, annually. And just to discuss the curriculum and how we can better serve our students in that arena. And so I look forward to working with that group. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Carpenter. Good evening. I have a very short report. I just want to let the college know that the presidential search is on track. We are on schedule. We have a solid process that's been followed by the Association of Community College Trustees organization many times over. We're following all board policy, and we are open to suggestions, but we have a great process going, and I want to go out of my way to thank Jackie Morrison for all her tremendous extra work. She's kind of doing a job and a half or two. She always does a job and a half, so she's doing at least 2 jobs at the moment. And also Andy Pasolini for all her hard work, getting the website going, all the communications that are going out to the staff on my behalf and others. I really appreciate your hard work. And we're well on our way on the presidential search. I'm very proud of the work the board's done. And with that, I have nothing more to report tonight. So we will now move on to our student trustee. You may report your items.
I report. Thank you.
Report your report.
You got it. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I hope you have all had a happy start to your November. I can't believe it's already November and the end of the semester. Stay alone my grades. Okay. Last month, I had the opportunity to attend the California Community College Student Affairs Association Conference in Santa Clara alongside members of our student government. The 3-day conference was invaluable for SGA's professional development and provided a lot of really useful information that we can take through our term and pass on to students at large. Personally, I was really grateful for the opportunity to connect with other student leaders across the state face-to-face and also participate in workshops focused on advocating for designated student spaces and developing effective survey methods. So I'm eager to apply the skills that I learned to the initiatives that we're doing this year. And I also attended a meeting as the region delegate for the Student Senate of California Community Colleges, where I somehow found myself volunteering to serve on both their legislative affairs and internal affairs committee because I'm a glutton for punishment. Thank you. But my jokes aside, my hope is that by being involved in these committees, we can enhance MSJC's visibility within the region, as well as establish us as a key participant in shaping student-centered regional policies and initiatives. Closer to home, our Student Government Association has been actively engaging the campus community through events, including a very well-attended Harvest Festival at our San Jacinto campus. And a few of us also attended the 7th annual drag show hosted by the LGBTQ plus advisory, where Dr. Jeremy Brown gave the opening remarks. And I just want to highlight how much fun that event was and how well put together everything was. It was a blast. Probably as an alum, I will be going back to that event yearly. Looking ahead, I wanted to let everyone know that we are resuming discussions about the Student Union Center that Sam conducted research on. I feel like this initiative is particularly important as we work to create dedicated spaces for underrepresented communities on campus, including our LGBTQ plus students, our Asian American and Pacific Islander students, as well as other identity-based groups such as our Latinx and Chicanx community, who are particularly interested in having a space of their own and who would also benefit from having intentional student-focused places of gathering. And finally, in light of the news of Dr. Schultz's retirement and the proceedings of finding his replacement, I just want to share on the record that I'm honored to have had the opportunity to serve my term under your leadership. And I'm very grateful at the time that you've dedicated to us students, listening to our grievances and entertaining our crazy ideas sometimes. I hope you have a smooth and productive final year ahead of you, and I hope you're making all the best plans for your retirement ahead. So thank you. That concludes my report.
And we go from student trustee to student government. You have the floor.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Just to piggyback off of Trustee Waluko, I also attended the annual Harvest Festival at the San Jacinto campus. It was a wonderful turnout from the community. We had a community card club come out, and just a bunch of community members come out. So it was really, really beautiful event. I also attended the Seesaw Conference in Santa Clara. It was a great opportunity to network, and the breakout sessions were absolutely very well thought out and very informative. Some of them included, some of the ones I attended were the effective survey design, You Belong Here, which was about the BIPOC centers or student union centers at other campuses. And then another one by the keynote speaker on how to keep an audience engaged. And he did, in fact, keep us engaged the whole time. Lastly, SGA received a public comment regarding the student equity plan, and I would like to share that with you today, or some of the keynotes. This student has worked closely with disproportionately impacted groups at MSJC, including the Undocu Dreamers and the LGBTQIA students. The process for creating the plan was inequitable. The administration used a general survey sent out to all students instead of holding focused conversations with the DI populations. Many DI students, including this student, never received or saw the survey. Research on the LGBTQIA students is very recent, and no research has been conducted for the Undocu Dreamers students. The administration's goal of keeping the plan broad enough for all students is the opposite of real equity work, which requires specificity and intentionality. Over recent years, institutional support for DI groups has decreased. As student leaders, SGA has the responsibility to hold the institution accountable and ensure equity goals are specific, measurable, and meaningful. If the plan moves forward without oversight, student equity will continue to fall through the cracks. Allowing departments to independently define equity without clear guidelines or accountability is too broad and ineffective. We need proper focus groups with DI students before the plan is finalized. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now move on to the Academic Senate report. Professor Oberg. No problem.
So I will also open with item 13.2, the equity plan that's on your agenda. And if I could ask you to note page 22, metric 3, strategy 3. That is our understanding of where the revision was made. And it reads, work collaboratively with the Academic Senate to establish additional strategies within the 3-year planning cycle to ensure consistent access to basic needs and related support services between terms, aligning with institutionally adopted plans such as the basic needs, LGBTQ, and C program plans to increase persistence for the identified populations. So, consistent with the SGA comments, we did continue to have concerns and express concerns in Senate. And there is definitely a concern about the need for oversight and ensuring that there is follow through. As such, Michael actually engaged in a few questions to inquire with Brandon in our IPC meeting about the opportunity for ongoing meetings and oversight. And on our November 4th meeting, Brandon did in fact agree to holding regular meetings and ensuring that institutional effectiveness will continue to provide updates to Senate on specific strategies being utilized to close the equity gap. And based on that compromise, we did have Michael encourage support of the plan with the intention of making sure that there's ongoing monitoring and participation. And there was a very clear understanding that the process by which the equity plan was developed lacked an equitable focus, but there was some acknowledgement of that and commitment to address or adjust how we might approach it in future planning cycles. So I support all of the notes that you shared and the recommendations and asks that your student provided here today. And Senate is here to partner with institutional effectiveness and draw upon our diverse campus experience and discipline experience and research experience to support that process in future cycles. We also had the opportunity to attend plenary for the statewide academic senate. We were very grateful to receive wonderful professional development through the workshops that were hosted. This was also a resolution event, so that was an interesting experience to observe that democratic process. I do want to highlight some of the things that we were able to participate in and how it relates to some of the conversations and work we're doing here at Senate. We did have an opportunity to network and have ongoing conversations with other Senate leaders, and it allowed us to gain some insight into other governance structures and processes and offer a frame of comparison, right? There is opportunity for growth here at MSJC in terms of the Senate inclusion and voice in the practices and decision-making. So we look forward to continued partnerships with our administration. Roger has been kind enough to host presidential meetings with Michael and myself and start those conversations. And then we've continued the Senate Connect meetings with Jeremy and Roger as well. So we do look forward to how we can move forward and continue to improve the processes so that we can be partners in supporting our goals for student-centered education and growth moving forward. That being said, there were some interesting things. There were a couple of resolutions that passed related to non-credit faculty affirmation and some online proctoring concerns. The non-credit faculty affirmation, we actually have items before the Senate right now to address some of the concerns for our non-credit and non-instructional faculty. And so that likely will be coming before the board next month. As it relates to online proctoring, this was a really hotly contested resolution, and the debate was extensive. Ultimately, they split the resolves and they modified their language and approach, but it certainly highlighted that these conversations are very much needed at a local level. And I would encourage you, you are all welcome to attend our Senate meetings. We have Senate on the first and the third Wednesday of every month from 2 to 4:30. And we welcome you to share in those meetings. We will have ongoing agenda items related to the presidential search. And we look forward to having continued dialogue such as Trustee Corona brought up, where faculty have a forum to share their concerns and also their hopes and desires in this process as well. And then I also just want to draw your attention to a workshop that was hosted by Fabi. Well, it was hosted by Michelle Pacansky Brock and a team, and they highlighted a video by Fabiola Torres, who is one of our AI ambassadors to support the Vision 2030 initiatives of the Chancellor. And she actually walked us through an assignment that she had developed on Canvas. And she had agentic AI, not a language model AI, but agentic AI, where they have agency. They can make decisions. She fed her assignment, which required them to do background research on a particular theoretical perspective. She sat back and watched that AI fully complete that assignment. And make all the necessary adjustments that a human would have to make decisions, including choosing which prompt they wanted to respond to. She watched them and shared out the navigation that the AI tool was going through. And everybody in the room was in shock. They were in shock. We are already, as instructors, feeling overwhelmed by AI and feeling like we are not equipped with the necessary tools and resources to combat and protect academic integrity while also fostering innovation. This new agentic AI is compounding that problem exponentially so. So we really desperately need partnership where we're taking substantive action in this area and really facilitating important student-centered dialogues that protect their academic integrity and prepare them for what lies ahead when they transfer and when they enter that career force as well. And then additionally, I mentioned we do want to thank Roger for the presidential meetings. One of the things that we did talk about was potentially engaging a collegiality in action where we can seek out statewide resources to expand our learning, learn about additional resources, structures, and processes that might help us as Senate better partner with the board in support of our vision to transform learners and communities and lives. And so we'll see how that moves forward. I do have a resolution to share with you that was passed. As Senate President, we are required to share with you the resolutions that we pass. This one was adopted on October 15th. It is a resolution to reinstate Google products. So the specific title is Resolution to Reinstate Google Ecosystems at Mount San Jacinto College, whereas the MSJC district has previously employed Google ecosystem and applications to assist in the educational and administrative functions of the college, and discontinuing these services and applications has created a substantial gap in technological resources for students, faculty, and staff, impacting communication, collaboration, and performance. Whereas a significant number of students and faculty members have expressed a strong preference for the features and integration offered by the Google ecosystem, which many found to be more instinctive and robust for academic purposes. And whereas Google Workspace for Education, including the free Education Fundamentals Edition, is designed to be compliant with FERPA, and its reinstatement supports MSJC's institutional goals of advancing equity, improving student success and retention, and strengthening technological readiness by providing accessible, familiar, and widely adopted tools that prepare students for transfer, career, and lifelong learning. And whereas Google Workspace offers integrated Chrome extensions and third-party add-ons that provide faculty with enhanced tools for academic integrity, including plagiarism detection and AI content identification, thereby assisting instructors in addressing the rising challenge of academic dishonesty through artificial intelligence-generated work. And therefore, be it resolved that the Senate of Mount San Jacinto College formally requests that the administration and the board reconsider the decision to discontinue Google ecosystem and act quickly to restore these services for all students, faculty, and staff. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be formally submitted to the district president, the vice president of instruction, and the board of trustees for their consideration and action. So I'm trying to honor that obligation here tonight. We do need continued partnership for AI, and students are familiar with Google coming out of K through 12. That said, you all had a book on your stations. This actually is a book authored by Barry E. White, who was one of our keynotes at the plenary. Very inspirational. I thought it was fitting given where we're at. Senate is planning on hosting a book club. We want to continue to host dialogues where we as faculty can talk about what leadership looks like, and we can have a collective understanding of what we would hope to have in our future president and how we might participate in your search effectively and support that work. And then we also want to make sure we're helping our faculty learn how we can be better leaders in our classroom and the various roles that we serve throughout the campus. And we invite you to be part of that book club. We invite you to engage in this reading and share with us any additional reading that you think we could benefit from in this process as well. As you've all addressed, this is a monumental transition. And so we all want to be very strategic, intentional, and definitely equity-minded and as inclusive as possible in this process. And so, Trustee Silva, in honor of you, today is National Pickle Day, just for the record. But I also want to acknowledge that on November 28th, it is Hawaiian Independence Day. And I know we have great patriotism for our country, but I do want to be mindful that some of us draw from cultures that do not have those freedoms and liberties. That being said, I am sending all of you much love and aloha for you and your families as you gather in the coming holidays this month. Mahalo.
Thank you. We will now go to 5.3 and hear from Ed Saucedo, President of the Classified Senate.
Good evening, President Ashley. I have a short report. Since last month, I've been trying to fill in those vacancies that the Classified Senate has had in sitting on various committees and other programs and things and meetings. Attended the President's search meeting with the board, and it was very, very mind-blowing as far as the responsibility and the task at hand to try to find not only someone to fill Roger's shoes, but to run this district into the future for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. It's just mind-blowing. And I hope that all these comments and everything that's being shared plays into that. It's going to be a daunting task. My first Senate meeting will be next week. So I hope to fill the remaining officer seats and come up with a plan so that we can, moving forward, we can support everything that the board and the administration, faculty, and the students are asking for. That they're where the rubber meets the road, but obviously you don't get there without an engine, transmission, and other things that go along with it. So we're hoping to put our plan together to support those ambitions that the students and the faculty have. And that's really all that I have for now. I hope to have more in December when we have actually had our first meeting. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Saucedo. 5.6, Superintendent, President, and Executive Cabinet. And it's been a minute since we've heard from all of you. So Roger, what's going on?
I'm going to throw it to Cabinet first and I'll clean up at the.
All right, so you received the bond audit this evening. The business services team was working hard to get actually all of the district's audit reports wrapped up and brought to you this evening. But the effort was stymied, unfortunately, by the federal government shutdown of all things. Unfortunately, the Office of Management Budget wasn't able to release their federal award supplement that's necessary to finalize the audit reports where there's funds that come from federal sources. So unfortunately, while our efforts are done and the reports are just waiting for that supplement to be released so that the auditors can verify that they have in fact included all of the elements and finalize the reports, unfortunately, we'll have to bring those other reports to you as that supplement gets released and those reports are finalized. So we were hoping to have all that done this evening. Just want to give you the update. The other reports will be forthcoming as soon as we can get them in front of you. Thank you.
That leaves me all the extra time. Now, very briefly, we did have originally planned a holiday soiree at this campus for December 5th, but due to some scheduling conflicts, we are moving that to a Thursday and moving it up to 4 p.m. because that's when we'll be able to enjoy the sunset. So hopefully we just sent out the updated invitation. I want to ask Alina, we had the Harvest Festival and I was there and I was commenting the crowds just continued to grow. And as I headed to the parking lot, I think my comment to you is I hope you have enough candy, but as I headed to the parking lot, there were more families pouring out. Did you run out?
We still have 2 totes full of candy.
Okay, great event though. I was worried because there were so many excited families and what a great event. So congratulations on that.
We were giving out candy by the handfuls, so.
I would have brought a bag. But no, again, congratulations. We have on Monday a long-awaited Past Biz Hub grand opening. That is a business resource center that we have partnered with the city of Beaumont and the economic development arm of the county, and it will bring some of the college's services, integrating with economic development for that region. And I think Trustee Silva will be presenting at that event as well. Kind of like the MVC STEM building, we do have a grand opening slated. This time we're very confident because under the leadership of Dean Donhauser, we had a soft opening last week, and kudos to your team for having a good implementation week, and that allows us to move forward with a formal grand opening on February 5th. And as was mentioned several times, we have the State of the College tomorrow. Oftentimes, we've had that event in tents outside. I think Rebecca Orlowski and Andy Pasolini and Jackie foresaw that there's probably going to be a run of bad weather, so they planned it for inside. It is on the second floor where we have held convocation. We did a dry run through with some audio checks, and it does sound really good. So second floor tomorrow, and kickoff of that event is about 8:15. But with rain, we may have to give it 5 or 10 minutes. But I think 8:20, 8:25 is the kickoff for sure. So anyway, look forward to seeing you, those of you who can make it. That concludes my remarks.
Thank you, President Schultz. In cabinet, I like short reports, but come on, you guys. I hope you have something for us next month. Moving on to the consent calendar. We are now on item 6.1, approval of the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve?
Sure, Ashley, I move to approve.
We have a first and a second. Is there any discussion on this lengthy consent agenda?
I would like to discuss 15. Oh, that's just not on the whole agenda, right? Or I was gonna do 15.2.
Did you
pull that for discussion?
That's not on the
Oh,
consent
okay.
agenda. That's
For
on
later,
the
okay.
open. So we will go over that one at a time. Yes. So then with that, is there any other discussion? Hearing none, will the student trustee please vote?
Aye.
Board, please vote.
Aye.
Aye. And the consent agenda is approved. Congratulations to all the new people that are coming. I'm just scrolling to get to the open agenda, and here we are. We're now on the item 11 open agenda, which is human resource. It looks like it's under human resources, classified employees. So 11.1, classified employee appointments. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve these classified appointments. And I'm just looking for a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. If there's any discussion. Hearing none, student trustee, please vote.
Aye.
Trustees, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. 11.2, interim administrative appointment. We have one interim administrative appointment. It's recommended the board approve the interim administrative appointment. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, student trustee, please vote.
Aye.
Trustees, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
11.3, New positions and job descriptions, confidential and supervisory. The establishment of 8 new confidential supervisory positions to provide the necessary support to accomplish institutional goals. And those positions are listed. It is recommended that the board approves the new supervisory positions and job descriptions. Do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Chair Ashley, I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, student trustee, please vote.
Aye.
Trustees, please vote.
Aye.
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 11.4. New positions and replacements, faculty. The superintendent president recommends to recruit 28 tenure track faculty positions for the 26-27 academic year. It is recommended that the board of trustees confirm the faculty recruitments. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I did have a quick question.
Yes.
Is this in light of the retirements from last year, or is this a regular number that we're looking at every year for hiring?
You're absolutely right. It is completely in light of the retirements, as well as the growth that we've experienced. Both of those things couple together to essentially move forward with a large number.
Student trustee, I was also kind of like looking at the numbers here saying, hey, we're getting busy. We're doing a lot of recruitment. Vice President Galindo is going to be super busy.
It's been a process.
Yes. If there's no other discussion, student trustee, please vote.
Aye.
Trustees, please vote.
Aye.
Aye. 11.5, new positions classified. The establishment of 20 new classified positions to provide the necessary support to accomplish institutional goals. It is recommended that the board approve the new classified positions. Do we have a motion?
I'll second.
And I guess we have trustee Corona first and trustee Carpenter second.
I think Carpenter was first up.
Carpenter, then,
She beat me.
okay. Any discussion on this item? Hearing none, student trustee, please vote.
Aye.
Trustees, please vote.
Aye.
Aye. 11.6, new positions and job descriptions. The establishment of 8 administrative positions to provide the necessary support to accomplish administrative and institutional goals. The positions are there. Hopefully everyone has read carefully their board agenda before tonight. It was a long one. It seemed like 1,000 pages. I think it was 600. I forget. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, student trustee, please vote.
Aye.
Thank you. Trustees, please.
We first and a second. Yeah.
See, I'm just flying through. Do we have a motion to approve?
Yes, Chair Ashley, I would like to approve.
Well, thank you. Do we have a second?
Chair, I would second.
We have a first and a second.
Good job, Jackie.
Is there any discussion, any more discussion? No? Yes? Hearing none, student trustee, please vote.
Aye.
Thank you. Trustees, please vote on 11.6.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone, for keeping me honest. We're now on the open agenda, business services 12.1, 2024-2025 Measure AA Bond Independent. Now on this, I believe we have already heard our presentation, and now we just need to vote to accept the audit. Do we have but I guess I should just read it though. We've already had the district, Eid Bailey, have completed their audit for the Measure AA financial records. The auditor found no significant deficiencies that are considered material weaknesses. There were no material findings or recommendations, included in the audit report. That's good. The principal auditor will be at the board, and we've heard from him. It is recommended that we vote to accept the audit as presented. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, student trustee, please vote.
Aye.
Did we get motions yet? Oh, I've done it again. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, trustee Carpenter, and a second.
Okay.
Won't happen again, I promise. Thank you, trustee Silva. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Student trustee, please vote.
Aye.
Trustees, please vote.
Aye.
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 All right. We're now on the open agenda, Superintendent President's Office. Item 13.1, Annual Organizational Meeting. And in accordance with Ed Code, Section 35-143, the governing board of each school district shall hold an annual organizational meeting in a year in which a regular election for governing board members is conducted. The meeting shall be held on a day within a 15-day period that commences with the second Friday in December, December 12th through December 26, 2025, following the regular election. Organizational meetings in years in which no such, and this is us this year, organizational meetings in years which no such regular election for governing board members is conducted shall be held on any date in December, but no later than December 20th. Unless otherwise provided by rule of the governing board, the day and time of the annual meeting shall be selected in a year in which the regular election for governing board members is conducted by the board at its regular meeting held immediately before the first day of such 15-day period, or in a year in which no such regular election for governing board members is conducted by the board at its last regular meeting held immediately before the organizational meeting. What lawyer wrote this? The board shall notify the county superintendent of schools of the day and time selected. The clerk of the board shall, within 15 days before the date of the annual meeting, notify in writing all members and members-elect of the date and time selected for the meeting. The MSJC Board of Trustees annual and this is maybe what I just should have read. Annual organizational meeting will be held Thursday, December 11th at 4 p.m. at the Temecula Valley Campus, third floor, boardroom, room 301. In alignment with the requirements of the district annual organizational meeting, the MSJC Board of Trustees regular December meeting will be held immediately following the annual organizational meeting on December 11th. Okay, so it's recommended that the Board of Trustees confirm the date and time and location for the 2025 annual organization meeting. So would someone like to make a motion to confirm, what is it? December 11th, 2025 at 4.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion.
I'll second.
I'd like to thank Mr. Rentflesh for teaching me English in St. James Parochial School and me being able to read. As a result, I hope I've passed my test.
Reading.
All right. Whew. And with that, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion on this? Hearing none, student trustee, please vote.
Aye.
Trustees, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
So that we are sure Jackie got it. Could you reread that one more time?
Yes, yes. Here goes. Oh, my goodness. All right. Less reading and important. No, less reading, but no less important is 13.2, the Student Equity Plan 25 to 28. The 2025 to 2028 Student Equity Plan, SEP, was presented as an informational item during the October board meeting. It has received formal recommendations of support from the Academic Senate, the Student Government Association, and the Institutional Planning Committee. The plan is now being submitted to the Board of Trustees for final review and approval. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the Student Equity Plan for 2025 to 2028. Do we have a motion to approve this plan?
I'll move to approve.
We have a first
I'll second.
and a second. Is there any discussion on this item?
Yes.
You may proceed.
Thank you. I wanted to highlight what Alina, President Baca said earlier regarding the public comment. Part of that public comment was actually because my position also sits on the executive board for SGA. So I was privy to this comment when it came through. Part of it was the formal request of student government to rescind their support of this student equity plan. We weren't able to get to that discussion due to the time constraints, but I did want to share, as some of you may remember, I had very strong feelings about this at the previous board meeting. And even with the public comment that came in, I do think that I will share that my own views on the matter have somewhat softened since the last time I commented on this plan. And I fully understand that there is a deadline that we're facing with our decision. However, taking into consideration the opinions of students as the one who sent SGA this public comment, as well as seeing the institutional response that came following our feedback, the same feedback, if I might add, that was shared all the way back to when we first heard about the plan in early September, I feel that from the student's point of view, the most obvious thing that came out of this process is the lack of prioritization of student voices and opinions at certain levels of this institution. Also considering that out of many of the things that I've seen come through a vote at board meetings, this should have easily been one of the things that had robust student participation and involvement, intentional student participation that holds space for the very groups that are listed on this plan. Again, I am very much aware of the requirements that we're facing from the Chancellor's office, as I am reminded multiple times. But standing on the principle of my disagreement with how the research for this plan was conducted, unfortunately, I can't move forward in support of this plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion before we vote?
Question, what are the drawbacks if this is not approved? What are the alternative? How long would we have if it just was not passed? From, Brandon Moore.
So how long?
Or, yeah, how long, like.
So the ramifications are this plan's contingent on getting our student equity and achievement funding, which is approximately $6.2 million to the district annually.
But is
So
this
this
the
plan is-
last meeting that we can?
Yes, this plan is due to the Chancellor's office by November 30th.
Good questions, Trustee Corona. That's my comment. That's one of my comments. I think we need to all recognize this is a big issue. Although we may just vote it right through, kind of like many other issues, I just want to recognize, I do understand that this has been an area where we all agree we can try harder in the future to make, I don't feel that we haven't tried to include everyone, but I do feel like there's always room for improvement. And clearly on some of the commentary we've gotten, there is room for improvement, and we will look for that. And also we'll look to implement this plan in a way that proves some of the softening support, proves the softening right, because that we went with the plan and really worked the plan and not just, go forward. Is there any other discussion?
I could just add
Sure.
the fact that we did add the fact that this is not a static document, that this is meant to be a dynamic document that will evolve over time and go through multiple iterations as we work with the academic senate, and the language that was cited about working collaboratively to establish additional strategies. So it is, and there were other limitations as well, 500 words in each section. So it could not get to these, 500 characters. 500 characters really limited our ability to articulate specificity to a granular level of the actual activities. So this is not our template. It is dictated to us. But that does not alleviate the need to continue to collaborate ongoing.
Student trustee, please vote.
No.
Trustees, please vote. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to making sure I'm not. 14.1, public comment guidelines. Public comments for groups to non-agenda items. Do we have any public comment for non-agendized items? We don't. That means we are now moving on to the information agenda, item 15.1. We've already heard our Sacramento update. At this point, we can go to item 15.2, board policy manual, annual revisions and update. There's a lengthy background, and I'm sure you've all read it closely, but what the background is basically telling you is read the proposed changes carefully. We vote on these next month. Is there any update from any cabinet or anyone? It's
part of the routine review. It's gone through the participatory governance process and been vetted extensively. We may want to add the fact that there may be future updates that come to us off cycle just out of necessity, but this is the bulk of that review.
Yes, and a year ago, we got caught with an unusually large number of reviews, and we actually put off the approval by a month. This month, not so much. It's digestible in one sitting. So please, everyone, take a very close look at it before we meet next month and vote.
Can I bring up?
Yes.
I'm proposing that we update also the board policy 2431 on superintendent president selection. I don't see it as a proposed policy in here. It's when comparing to other colleges like say RCC, Palomar, Cerritos College, their board policy for the superintendent president selection process, it's a lot more extensive. It's more clear, it's more refined, and ours is very vague. It's only 2 sentences. I don't know if there's another college that has such a short specification of the actual superintendent search. So just something to consider, possibly updating that. I know it was updated on January 16, 2025. I think they were all updated, but that seemed to not have been updated in a long time. That's it.
Okay. Unfortunately, that would have needed to be on the agenda now for us to study for a month before voting on it. So what I would recommend is looking at that language and submitting it prior to next year when we do when we do this again. Feel free to ask staff like, hey, when are we doing our next round of policy updates? Propose them to look at others and we can look at it and talk about it. But that takes care of our item 15.2. We're going to now move on to 15.3, faculty obligation number, FON report. The faculty obligation number report is a state mandated minimum number of full-time faculty positions that each community college district must maintain. And there's a report in a compliance document. Dr. Schultz, can you explain a little bit more about what this is, the FON report?
Actually, I'm going to defer to our colleague.
Did I put you on the spot?
No, you can't.
I could, but go ahead.
So as you mentioned in the introduction, it's the faculty obligation number, and each year it's recalculated for each community college district based on their funded credit FTES, their funded student allocation. This year, our requirement, I can't even remember, it's 158.60. What we deduct from that and take into consideration, because it's a whole spreadsheet, it takes away any type of time that is spent away for reassigned time, release time, any time that is substituted then by backfilling with associate faculty, the percentage that is actually being taught, instruction that is actually being taught by associate faculty, all of that is taken into consideration in allocating and making sure that we are complying with our faculty obligation number. This year we are actually 41.10 over the faculty obligation number. You all approved the new faculty positions. Some of those are being currently filled by full-time temporary employees, which were actually taken into consideration into this FON as full-time faculty equivalent already. But the target for a statewide is that 75% of our classroom instruction be taught by full-time faculty, and we're actually at 49% of that 75. I don't know of any community college district that actually meets that requirement. It's always been supplemented. The instruction has always been supplemented by our associate faculty. So every year we comply with this. I think it's important that we all believe that it was important to bring it to the board as an information item, especially as we sit here and we you all approve additional positions and what that means for our institution. Any additional questions on that?
It's well explained. And it's, we're almost at 50, but this isn't part of the 50% rule. This is, there's a general, like, kind of out there, like we should all have as a generalized goal, a goal that almost no college meets, but we should be moving not in the wrong direction of it, I would say. And with our new hires, would you say we're moving in the right direction? Like, or are we holding steady?
I believe we're holding steady for the most part, but there are new headcount allocated in that approval. So I think that's inching us closer to where we need to be.
Yeah, well, and where we need to be on that metric, right? So the fawn is a weird metric because it's measuring something else, and that's the number we're beholden to. And if we drop below the fawn, we are penalized. Our general fund budget gets reduced by that. But you won't see the large increase. Like, don't expect this to go up by 28 because we're hiring them, like Diana's saying, because we are replacing some folks. So I would anticipate you'd see a few upticks, so a few numbers would uptick, but our obligation number also adjusts with our FTS. So as we continue to grow, our required number of full-time faculty will also continue to grow. And so our target has always been, and this has been Roger's push, has always been to stay above it. And so we are well above it now, and you'll see it bump up. Again, not by 20 something next year, but it'll be a handful probably that you'll see increase.
Thank you. Item 15.4, equal opportunity workforce data. Equal opportunity workforce data. California community colleges are mandated by the California Code of Regulations, Title V, Section 53004, to continuously review the composition of their employee workforce. And there's 2 documents for us to study. And with that, that is also an information to be studied.
Yes, if I may.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Yes,
You know what? I saw you walk this way from, and I thought you stepped out for a moment, so I
And then disappeared behind the podium.
did not say that.
So just really quickly.
Thank you. Please explain.
Yes, I'll be brief and bright, and then we can all be gone. So that's fine. That's my motto by which I do presentations, but this is it is a requirement. So pursuant to Title V, new regulations, this will be coming before the board on an annual basis. So it's a analysis of our applicant data, not only our applicant data, but our workforce data as well. So it is an information item. It's just to present the information. And then what we will do as we continue to work with our EEO advisory committee is that we will bring strategies for our 3-year plan that was actually due to expire next year in 2026. So that will come before the board as well. And we will actually create, with that advisory committee, we will create strategies in order to, can't hear me? Oh, okay, got
The
it.
online people.
Okay. So it will create,
Oh, so if you step back, it's the speakers.
I don't know, is that better?
Okay. Yeah, the
Okay.
closer to.
Over here, back over here.
Thanks, Brandon. Everything was going fine before you stepped in.
Micah's fault. Oh, try that.
Okay, does that sound better? Okay. Thank you, Micah. So this will come before, as I was mentioning, the strategies will come before the board on an annual basis to ensure that we're meeting what we're saying we're going to do within our 3-year plan. So just really quickly, I do want to just mention why we're doing it. Again, Title V regulations, a California government code, and California education code. We do have some data limitations based on our applicant tracking system. Our applicant tracking system currently has some data limitations in our review process of going back and tracking the applicant information for the past 3 years, because there is a requirement to analyze that data for the past 3 years. So because of that, and because of how we've done some of our associate faculty hiring, some of that data is not actually readily available. But as we move forward, that will be a new component that our office will be taking care of and addressing. So the categories that we have to report in are all the 7 categories, the executive, administrative, management, managerial, faculty, and other instructional staff, secretary, clerical, technical, paraprofessional, skills crafts, service maintenance, and professional. Those are the categories that we have to present, we have to report on. But what does that mean for MSJC is that we usually lump all of those into 3 different categories. We have our faculty, which include part-time and full-time. We have, at the time of running this report, we had 201. As you all saw on the fawn, we reported 199. So 201 full-time faculty, 456 part-time faculty for any given term. And then we have our classified, which we have approximately 332, and our management, who sit at 60. So our applicant data, we broke this down by gender and also ethnicity. So these are all of the applications that we received for 2024, 2025. We wanted to give you the total of applications that we received. This include part-time faculty, full-time faculty, management, and classified. We received a total of 3735, but out of those, only 2934 were qualified. It's really important that we set the basis for the qualified because a lot of people, as we know, apply for many different positions that they don't necessarily meet the minimum education and experience requirements for. So as we start analyzing how we start losing some of our diversity through the effects of our recruitment process, we definitely want to know what our starting base is. And that's why it's really important to have that, that number really, we really want to hone in on that number because that will give us a good basis of how we're going to move forward or what we end up as a final product. From that, 503 reached the final level, and then 296 were eventually hired for all of those employee groups. This is the gender makeup, and so out of those, as far as the final hires, 147 self-identified as female, and 146 identified as male, and we had 3 non-binary 3 applicants that actually identified as non-binary. This is the applicant data for all the race and ethnicity for all applicants. So as you could see, we start again with the total applicants and work our way through each of the phases of the recruitment process. One of the things that we will be working on is between qualified candidates, qualified applicants, in first level interviews, we'll be looking at how many get past the screening process. So there's a pie chart that will be inserted as we move forward of how those numbers will be affected during that stage. So right now we're looking at qualified applicants, first level, and then hires for overall. So we hired the 296, and that is the actual breakdown for the hires of that we had. So 90 of those identified as white, 132 identified as Hispanic, 34 as Black, African American, 19 as Asian, 3 as Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander, and 3 as, the 3 was the 2 or more. This is for only, we're going to delve down into actual employee groups. This is a full-time faculty, 24-25 applicant data and the gender breakdown for this. So out of the total of number of applicants that we received, 538 were actually for the full-time faculty recruitments. Out of those, only 425 were qualified, and then moving through the process, 28 of them were hired, 11 identified as female, 16 as male, and 1 as non-binary. And then this is the race ethnicity breakdown for the full-time faculty, 24-25 applicant data. And as we move through the process, you'll see the shifting of each of those represented and underrepresented groups throughout the hiring process, with the 28 total at the very end. Part-time faculty for gender, we received 1,585, and out of those, 1,175 were actually qualified. These met the minimum education and experience requirements as set forth by the Chancellor's Office, so did the full-time faculty, and we partner with our Academic Senate Equivalency Committee to ensure that anybody who feels that they have an equivalency because they don't hold the exact same degree as those outlined in the minimum qualifications handbook is actually gone through the process to establish whether or not they meet equivalency through our Academic Senate partners. This is the applicant data for the part-time faculty, race and ethnicity. all the way through. One of the data limitations that we realized is because of the way we hire part-time faculty, we don't necessarily have the final interview data, which will be changing as we move forward, and we're going to be tracking that in our applicant tracking system. Right now, my understanding is that all of the qualified applicants are then just forwarded to the dean, to the area dean, and to the chair to set up interviews, and then they just give us who they want to hire. So we're not accurately tracking who is actually interviewed, and that is one of the changes that will be coming as we move forward in retaining the data. This is for our classified applicant pools and the gender breakdown for them. Out of the 51 hired that we did this last year, 24 identified as female, 27 as male, and we had no one identified as non-binary. Applicant data for classified race and ethnicity. This is the breakdown of this 51 that were hired and the movement throughout the recruitment process. For management, these are the applicant data. And then we hired 8 managers for the 24-25 year. We were an even split for those who identified as female and those who identified as male. This is the applicant data management, race and ethnicity. And that was a pretty even representative of the 8 hires as far as the race and ethnicity that each of those applicants identified with. And then just really quickly going through all of the employee groups, this is our current employee workforce. So out of all of that all those applications and the people that are currently working with us and were newly hired, this is the 3-year comparison as we move through and we start seeing whether we start moving the needle in the right direction to ensure that we have a diverse represented workforce. So as we move forward, what the advisory committee will do is take this data and start creating strategies to best improve our recruitment practices. And what does that look like? Again, broken down by employee group, this is the full-time faculty 3-year comparison. And then this is the part-time faculty 3-year comparison. Classified professionals and management. And then in terms of future initiatives, as I mentioned earlier, we are going to update the district's EEO plan. We're going to make sure that all tracking is relevant to the state chancellor's mandates and Title V. We're implementing minimum qualifications versus total applicants analysis as we move forward. So that will come to you again in the next year. One of the things that we started doing, as a matter of fact, with all of the job descriptions that you all approved today, is that we're looking at the minimum qualifications to eliminate any artificial barriers. And that includes inflated education requirements. I think as an institution, we've done not the best job at ensuring that the minimum quals actually speak to the work that is being done. And that includes inflated requirements for inflated degrees that are not necessary to conduct the work. That goes from classified all the way to the superintendent president search. So ensuring that the work is actually conducive to the actual degree and experience that we require is very important, because inputting or requiring a degree that is not required automatically has an adverse impact on underrepresented groups. And that's a real issue that we're trying to mitigate and address those. So in some of the job descriptions that you all saw today in the board agenda, it had equivalency language written in there for some of our classified administrators, which we're allowed to do. For our educational administrators, there is a requirement of a minimum of a master's degree, and that is across the board pursuant to Title V. So as we move forward and we draft job descriptions for educational administrators, my recommendation is going to be, from an HR standpoint, that we stick to the minimum requirements, as that provides more of an open access for individuals. Then we will fully track the faculty associate hiring practice and, as I mentioned, process, because as I mentioned earlier, we're not tracking who's actually being interviewed. And then we're going to work with the advisory committee on the district EEO plan to bring that forward to you all next year. And that is it.
Vice President Galindo, I have to say, I feel terrible that, you're standing between us and adjournment because that was a very good presentation. And I found the pie charts fascinating because they were so easy to roll your eye across them and see, oh, it went, it was one of those charts that very, if you're a visual learner or whatever, you can really make quick notice of where we're maybe doing great or where I'd like to see more representation. And I will take to heart what you said about equivalency, because I know that is it's just an ongoing issue. I think since I've been here, equivalency for all positions have been it's a hill to die on for many people, and it's not for others. And it's always an interplay. So thank you very much.
I had a quick question. That's okay.
Yes, of
Mr. Chair.
course.
So when compared to your previous district, like College of the Desert, is there anything that stood out with the data that we have?
Not that it stood out. I think that what we have to keep in mind, one of the things, especially as we review the applicant data, there's a lot of similarities is what I would actually say. Not something that would actually stand out that we're doing exceptionally well or exceptionally different. One of the things that we have to keep in mind is when applicants fill out their application, they could fill out 5 different applications and they can self-identify as something different every time they fill out their application, because the option is always there for you to change your mind. And if you want to identify as Black, African American, and then identify as white in your next application, you could do that. So there's that's one of the data limitations that we see. The other thing that we have to keep in mind as we look at our faculty, especially within our full-time faculty ranks, is that the movement is going to be slow because usually we're not losing faculty. They're not moving on as fast as our classified staff, as fast as our management staff. Once a faculty member acquires tenure, they're usually at the institution until they retire. They're not really moving anywhere. So to move the needle per se with our faculty group, you're going to see a slower progress because we're usually not having the huge turnover or as much high as the turnover as classified or management. So those are some of the things to kind of just keep in mind as we start to review these things on an annual basis, this data, because you're going to see the differences in the movement in the management and classified. And then when you look at the faculty, you're going to ask why. Well, that's one of the reasons why there's not a huge turnover with full-time faculty. But your pipeline for your part-time faculty, because that's where we get most of our full-time faculty, or we hope to get most of our full-time faculty as we build our pipelines through part-time, that's where the major impact can start to happen immediately.
Thank you for your report. We're moving on now to item 16.1 adjournment. The next meeting of the Board of Trustees is our holiday meeting, Thursday, December 11th, 2025 at 4 p.m. right here at the Temecula Valley campus. So with that, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
We have a
Second.
motion.
Second.
A second. Is there any discussion?
No.
Trustee, please vote.
Aye.
Trustees, please vote. Aye.
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 We are adjourned at 6:58 p.m. Yeah. Yeah, that wasn't